I quote from the executive summary of the panel's white paper entitled Values and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, published in September 2016. Today, society faces the mammoth task of creating 1.5 billion new livelihoods by 2050, while at the same time exceeding the planet's crucial ecological limits. With the start of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, human progress may either suffer a catastrophic setback or experience a transformation, a positive transformation. Now, what will make the difference between the two, in the opinion of the high-level panel? What will make the difference between these two outcomes, ladies and gentlemen, is just one word: values. The white paper emphasized three core values in particular: human dignity, common good, and stewardship. These values are relevant for the way we manage financial markets, international trade and investment, education and employment, health and healthcare systems, food security and agriculture, and technology and manufacture. It is clear, therefore, that values-based leadership is essential to the realization of sustained positive change and to the management of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Perhaps paradoxically, since it's a technological revolution, it all comes down to people and values in the end, as Klaus Schwab has indicated, even though it's a technological revolution. So what are the institutional strategies that decision makers can use to factor values into the daily working environment of our financial, educational, and manufacturing institutions? Steering the discussion in the direction of HR metrics and human resource predictive analytics would result in missing the fundamental principle that has stood the test of time. By way of introduction, let me highlight the work of Professor Robert Fogel of Chicago regarding the concept of spiritual capital. Now, he is a well-regarded economist. The concepts of social and human capital are widely recognized in social sciences literature. What is mentioned less frequently, but is nevertheless equally important, is the concept of spiritual capital. The late Robert Fogel was a world-renowned empirical economic scientist and winner of the 1993 Nobel Prize in Economic Science. He emphatically states that self-realization of the individual, alongside work ethic, family ethic, and religious moral teachings, constitute spiritual resources, or what he described as immaterial assets. He introduced this term, immaterial assets, that are most significant for enriching personal and economic development. In order to achieve a higher level of economic development, Fogel presented a compelling argument for the redistribution of spiritual resources in society through teaching, peer tutoring, counseling, and moral support. He concluded that resolving the maldistribution of spiritual resources in society creates a win-win situation, unlike material resources. You give it to someone, someone else could lose it. The importance of values to global business initiatives is a well-researched topic in academia. Values lie at the core of any leadership theory, and business strategy. Values shape the characteristics of leaders, which in turn impact their vision, business priorities, and decision-making behavior. Recent publications have emphasized the importance of values such as accountability, trust, collaboration, fairness, and respect to the success of commercial enterprises. Professors Bill George and Rosabeth Moss-Cantor of the Harvard Business School highlighted corporate cases proving the business benefits of a strategic, values-based leadership approach. Such an approach results in enhanced workforce motivation, creativity, and engagement, increased talent retention, and reduced staff turnover, thus leading to increased sales, improved services, and customer satisfaction. Becoming a more effective leader often requires changing behavior. This means adjusting underlying mindsets, which for some is a practice that lies beyond their comfort zone. I had the opportunity of meeting Kunut Jair in 2006 at a program in London. He was the Chief Executive Officer of Norges Bank Investment Management, which manages the Sovereign Investment Fund of Norway. At that time, they were in control of over $320 billion, just one bank. He was having a cup of tea in the break and picked up a cupcake, which fell apart as its crumbs scattered over the table. So I offered him another cupcake, and I thought it was simple. To my surprise, he looked at me and he declined. Instead, he went on collecting the crumbs in his hand and said to me, "This should not go to waste." How can we inspire our business leaders to emulate such values? That's the big question. Muslim societies today are facing the primary challenge of managing the influences of modernization and globalization while maintaining their religious and social values. To achieve balanced and sustainable development, the primary leadership challenge in this context is the development of young professionals who possess the capacity for excellence and whose hearts are firmly connected to God. Those who can discern a productive path in life while steadfastly resisting selfish temptations and the competition for personal luxury and opulence. The enduring challenge for our society is the development of leaders whose conduct and character are consistent with the description given in Surah Al-Qasas. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَابْتَغِ فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَأَحْسِنْ كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ وَلَا تَبْغِ الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. But seek with the wealth which Allah has bestowed on you the home of the hereafter. And yet, do not forget your share of this world, and do good as Allah has been good to you, and seek not occasions for mischief in the land, for Allah loves not those who do mischief. To maintain this leadership standard, there is a pressing need to formulate a more creative approach to education and learning at all levels. Training of the soul is as important to achieving our development goals today as is training the mind. Today, we cannot overstate the case for an inspiring educational strategy that will place values and social responsibility at the heart of our professional business development and economic activity, including technological advancement. This is the case I want to make. The following insight describes a practical educational approach for achieving this goal. Humanity has not found a better way to inspire change than role modeling. One viable approach to sustain an active level of professional development is to use the role model of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to inspire more captivating meanings in leadership competencies and exemplary workplace practices. The reverence of Prophet Muhammad and the impact of his leadership model serves to stimulate the development of effective and normative organizational bonds with employees, thus leading to improved performance. Appropriate values-based learning material from the Seerah constitute, in Vogel's useful expression, immaterial assets that can stimulate cognitive processes aimed at professional development and enhancing business competencies. Business studies in higher education should extract appropriate learning material from the Seerah as part of the curriculum for organizational behavior and leadership studies. Our knowledge economy would greatly benefit from deploying this enriching source of spiritual capital in business training and professional development. This method, ladies and gentlemen, of human talent development would enhance exemplary leadership practices at the workplace. It can do so by integrating the leadership competencies described in contemporary empirical leadership models with the inspirational practices exemplified by the Prophet Muhammad. The concept of illuminating and learning advantageous management practices through inspirational role modeling provides an effective tool for stimulating positive change. There are many examples, but I don't have the time to go through them. They are on the portal for those of you who might be interested in accessing them. I should just mention very quickly that the 7th century alliance of the virtuous, which the Prophet took part and later commended, was a significant symbol of the values of fairness and the primacy of the common good. These are just one example. Then we have the Prophet's encounters with Mu'adh ibn Jabal when he was chosen as an emissary and jurist to Yemen, or Atiqa al-Khuza'iyya, known as Ma'bad, during the Hijrah journey. These are both masterclasses illustrating the leadership competencies of effective communication, empowering team members, and empathy. And these are just quick, very quick examples. So I should conclude by saying that the seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been a revered source of religious knowledge and moral teaching. And that ought not to be kept just within departments of Islamic studies or religious studies or theology. It should spread wider. It can also become a valuable source for human resource development and learning organizational leadership skills. This approach to human talent development offers an enriched learning experience that is naturally in harmony with the stakeholders' aspirations and would enhance talent growth in public and private sector enterprises. By that I conclude, And thank you for listening to me patiently.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yusuf from Malaysian Islamic Chamber of Commerce. Well, I just want to share what the professor had said, that if we were to read the book written by John Cotter in the year 1999, he wrote the book High Tech, High Touch. That's where the origin of the crisis of the American people, which is also the crisis of other people nowadays. He had already spotted that technology without the human will, as what being mentioned as the spiritual assets, then there will be a failure in all of our economic development. That's why the father of the father of the father of management from Harvard University had mentioned this, and I quote, it is from Harry Lewis from Harvard. He says that nowadays we are creating graduates, excellence without soul. And I think this should help us in realizing that if you were to develop, then please do not repeat this sort of endeavor, which is already being proven as a crisis in the American society that is being, what you call, research on by so many researchers, that without a spiritual capital, then we have to forget about developing the sustainable, trustworthy, and what you call credible economy and society. That's why what was mentioned this morning by the Tuan Ku about trust, and also I think the minister also talked about trust, meaning that without trustworthy, without character building, I mean the whole system of awqaf that we are going to develop will not be a success. And I think this is part of the curriculum of the higher education that should be embedded as core subject matter. And lastly, I think the paper that is being delivered just now should be seen as part and parcel of the whole awqaf system and of the whole 4.0 industrial revolution system itself. It has to be part of it, and it is not just merely one portion of the cake. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Thank you. I just want very quickly to add, thank you very much for this contribution. In Indonesia, for example, in Indonesia, it's a fact that there are more people with mobile phones than with bank accounts. I just leave you to think of the implications of that. I met a very talented economist a few days ago in Oxford. He told me that he stopped his Facebook account. And I was a little surprised. I said, why? He said, because if you want to be socially connected across the globe, you need to have two values. One, discipline, and second, self-awareness. If you don't have them, all these Facebooks and the rest will render you unproductive. It will take away your time and your energy and your focus. So he said, I decided to stop it voluntarily. Maybe when I be more self-aware and I have more discipline, I will return back to Facebook. So these are just two anecdotal stories, but they tell you a lot about how we should manage this IR4. And there are huge promises, but as I said, the challenges are no less real.
I have to read the questions posed here. It's fair. Has there been any successful Waqf implementation adopted by countries to reduce income inequality?
I have a 6. I will answer this first question. What are the leadership competencies and skills required for leaders in the sector of Waqf or generally non-governmental organizations? There are various leadership models that are well established and empirically proven to work. One of these is called the servant leadership model. Robert Greenleaf, 1970. He introduced it, and by the way, he wasn't a clergy. He was a technical engineer working for AT&T. But after years of experience, he developed that the world needs actually this service leadership model, where the leader is seen to be servant first. And through his service to his followers, employees, the community, he will then assume a leadership role. So part of that leadership model, he lists the number of competencies which I have highlighted. These are basically empathy is very important. You connect with people's needs. You know what they require, and you empathize with that. Good communication, that is also essential. So if you read the servant leadership theory and the competencies that it advocates or requires, then that will be a good first step towards addressing the need for those who work in the Waqf sector. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Basil. Can you please remain on stage, sir, as we have a small token of appreciation. Can we invite the Honorable Deputy Higher Education Minister on stage? Dr. Mary, please, on stage, sir. We have a small presentation for you. Thank you very much for keeping the best of time. Thank you, Dr. Basil Mustafa, Nelson Mandela Fellow Professor, Oxford Center for Islamic Studies, Oxford, inside Business School, United Kingdom. Terima kasih. Thank you. Shukran jazilan.